Hey gang, before we kick off the show, we want to remind you that we are giving away a $60 digital gift certificate towards your copy of WWE 2K16. There will be one lucky winner, and all you have to do is go over to bytethat.com/WWE 2K16 to enter. The contest ends on October 20th, and the winner will be announced right here on the podcast on October 20th. So for all the details, head on over to bytethat.com/WWE 2K16.
And the winner could be you.
And the winner could be you. Or Keith. Or, no, not Keith. On this episode, we discuss Paige's role in the Divas Revolution, Legends with JBL featuring Eric Bischoff, Reigns vs. Wyatt, Kane vs. HR, WWE in Madison Square Garden, and tons more right now on Byte That. Hey gang, what is going on? You're listening to episode 110 of Byte That's weekly wrestling podcast, a place where we sit down in 95-degree weather with a cow in your hand talking about the WWE and maybe the rest of professional wrestling. Thank you for tuning in and checking out the show. Remember, we are available every single Tuesday night on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, ByteThat.com, and of course, for this and tons more, head on over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast. I'm back, I'm here, I'm alive, and my name is Juan. And if I'm Juan, then with me, as always, are Mr. Keith Poshik and Ryan McNulty. How you guys doing, man?
Why, hello.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Cow
I'd
in
like to say I missed you.
Is that what they're calling it these days?
I don't know, man. Times are changing.
I mean, I guess it all depends on girth. Then you can say cow, but...
Well, I mean, he is kind of horny, but I guess you guys will find out eventually what I am talking about. But that being said, we are here because WWE is delivering so much content that before this podcast, we needed to sort of catch up on what we've been watching or listening, because WWE came out with a brand new table for three featuring Divas. They have Legends with JBL. We have the special Madison Square Garden show happening next Saturday. Then we have, the NXT All-Star panel that happened after Raw. Then we got to talk about Raw, too. So I think we have some things to talk about, guys. At least two or three. Maybe.
Yay.
Is Madison Square Garden this Saturday or next
this Saturday?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it's this
Yes,
Saturday.
it is.
Okay. All
because
right.
you know what they say, when you can't do quality, hit them with quantity.
Oh, well...
Is that even supposed to be a bird? I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe. I guess it's relative.
It is very accurate. We are definitely getting quantity over quality. I think that's the new mantra of WWE.
Well, really? I'm curious. Why do you say that?
Like, we see with Raw ratings being down, and the Raws haven't been that amazing lately, but there is absolutely, without question, more WWE content to consume now than there ever has before. So,
absolutely.
Naturally, that leads to quantity over quality.
I mean, with those network specials that are happening after Raw every week, if you include the pre-show, you are getting 4.5 hours of wrestling content a week now on Mondays. So even though it's not good wrestling content sometimes, you're still getting a lot of it. So yes, quantity.
I will say
quality.
For the most part, the only quality that's really suffering is Monday Night Raw. And I mean, SmackDown, if anybody's actually watched it, to let me know if it has gone down or not.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, a lot of people have actually been asking us to watch SmackDown, to which my answer is always like, I only have enough time in the week, people. I mean, we have limitations. We are human beings.
I do generally read the spoilers, at least.
I do that. And sometimes I'll even go as far as watching the YouTube videos.
Yeah, that's what I'll actually do.
Crazy.
Yeah. So getting to Raw, we actually kicked off the show a little bit differently. We have John Cena come out, and of course he is once again U.S. champion, which leads to the U.S. Champion Open Challenge. And then there was a video that apparently Heath Slater was going to be the person to challenge him. So a lot of people actually thought that was going to be him, but then, lo and behold, Keith, it's time.
Oh, Juan.
It's time.
Can you feel it?
It's Vader time.
Feel the power?
Do you like Vader?
You know, okay, I've been going back and watching a lot of Attitude Era related content. Like I've started a little mission for myself where I'm going back and watching all of 1998. And Vader is pretty prominent in the early part of, and like I'm at the point where he just cut his I'm a fat piece of shit promo and kind of takes off. But you know, Vader's WWE run was very unfortunate. There's a lot of rumors and speculation what happened with it involving Shawn Michaels, but Vader's awesome. Vader is very overlooked as a wrestler. Like in WCW, he was the god dang man, right? Like people apparently quit the company because they had to wrestle Vader on a card. That's how crazy Vader is. So I think Vader is insanely underrated. That was my Vader Minute of the Week. On to regularly scheduled programming.
You were prepared for that, man. Wow.
I know.
Okay, so
maybe a little too prepared.
Okay, now transitioning from Vader all the way back to modern times. So yeah, we have the New Day that is about to take on John Cena now. Kofi and Xavier were the people coming out with the tag titles, so I thought it was going to be Big E versus Cena. But then we had Xavier, and I was really pumped for that because we've talked about how they basically delegated Xavier Woods to being just a manager, but then he got this match, and obviously we know what happened. You know, it was inconclusive, but do you like that they're shedding at least some spotlight, although it's just a little bit on Xavier Woods' wrestling ability?
Yeah, I thought the exact same thing with Xavier having I thought the only reason he had the title on was because Big E was going to wrestle, so that was a good way to kind of catch everyone off guard. But no, definitely some focus has been needed on like Xavier Woods actually doing some in-ring stuff. But the actual match, I know it was very short because it became the six-man tag. It just seemed very weird. Like they were just going from like one spot to the next without like any in between. I don't know if anyone else just felt there was something weird about that match.
Yeah, I agree.
Even the commentary, this is how you can tell when there's we don't know if it's like lack of chemistry, whatever it was, because once again it was a short match, but even the commentators were having a hard time just sort of calling what was happening because he did like one good looking move and then Xavier Woods did another one and then another one, and they pretty much just had to react to that because there was no real story being told. It was just Cena countering Xavier. It was like I was playing 2K14. You know, you counter, I counter. Hey, that's cool. But then where's this going? But then the match ends. And this is the discussion that I want to have here. This is happening a little bit too much. It's always happened in wrestling. And you guys know exactly what I'm going to talk about. Hey, New Day comes out. Dudley Boys come out. Commercial break. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. You know, I go on Google thinking, 2 + 1 + 2 + 1. I mean, there's 6 people in there. And then we have a 6-man tag team match? What? I mean,
does that math check out?
I think so. I don't know.
I'll take your word for it.
But it bothered me a lot because it's happening way more frequently. These just Ryan always says it convenience factors or something like that.
Plot convenience,
or whatever. Plot convenience. Yeah.
I kind of look at it like it's like WWE has. You have to budget time, and in recent years, like whoever is in charge of just timing out the entire show. It's just like entrances, like screw our entrances, man. We need to we need to maximize the budget of Raw's time, and we're just forgetting about entrances. So if we want to get all these like 6 guys on the show, or 7 guys, 6 people. If we want to get all these 6 guys on the show, how do we do it in a way that we can cut out the most entrances possible? And that's why that's why I feel like they do these segments and stuff.
But do you mind it?
Do I mind it? I feel like it's done a little too often where, these matches, they'll become a singles match, then there's some interference, and then it turns into a bigger match or something like that, just so they can have the guys run in without having to have their entrances or something like that. Why don't you just book the actual match you were going to have in the first place?
So, as I mentioned earlier, I've been going back and watching a lot of Attitude Era stuff. That is something that happened a lot in the Attitude Era as well. I think it's really something that just hasn't gone away. Like I wouldn't even really say it's become more prominent in the last few years. Like there was a pay-per-view where they main evented with a 6-man tag, or it might have even been 8, for that was just every feud going into WrestleMania combined together into the main event of a pay-per-view. I just think tag matches are a convenience for storyline development, and do they lean on it a little too much? Yeah, there could be an argument for that, but I don't know, like, I don't mind it. Because
have you been watching full Raws?
Yes.
Now, do you feel like they cut out a lot of entrances? Just out of curiosity.
That's a good question. I don't know if there would be any more or less than today, but there's definitely like entrances during commercials and that kind of stuff. So it's just something that's like, it's happened this entire time, but it's very easy to forget.
See, for me, it's actually not too easy to forget, and I'm thinking this is more of a square roundtable topic that we'll get to, but I just want to leave this out there. If you guys want us to talk about it, make sure to drop it either on Twitter, Byte That Cast, or in the comment section, or if you're listening to on YouTube. But basically, are the majority of wrestling fans that simple-minded? And I don't know which other way to put it, where you can have always just these one-on-one matches that you know what's going to happen. It's going to turn into a freaking multi-man match because that's how you're trained to happen. It always happens. And it's always, I mean, Teddy Long, how many jokes did we make about Teddy Long doing this exact same type of thing? So it's not the convenience factor of tag team matches to sort of interlay storylines. It's like, if you're just going to do the tag team match, do the tag team match. Because, I mean, it just doesn't... I don't like it.
You know, at least Teddy Long would come out and announce the match. Now it's just like a commercial break happens when you come back. Just another match is happening now. Like, this is what you have now.
Yeah, hold on a minute, players.
Holla, holla. Okay, now let's actually jump from the beginning of Raw to the end of Raw. We found out right off the bat that the main event was going to be Roman Reigns versus Bray Wyatt. I'll be honest, I didn't care about the announcement too much. Now, when the match actually happened, I think I brought this up 2 weeks ago, my last appearance here, where I do feel that Roman Reigns is really ready for that spotlight. And I actually got some hate. Actually, I got some negative feedback, which it's perfectly understandable, because when people are treated to force like somebody, it's like Sheamus, you know, you still feel that bitterness. You feel that odd thing. But for me, this match showed that Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt are like Triple H, and I can't figure out who else in the Attitude Era, where there was The Rock. Well, because there was The Rock and Stone Cold. Well, I would say there was The Rock and Stone Cold.
Triple H and The Rock were kind of like in that Intercontinental division, like really, you know, stealing the show to try and elevate themselves.
Yeah, but basically, like, neither one of them are the top guy, but they are up there, and they can be up there. And just Bray Wyatt's aggression, his offense in this match was spot on. Roman Reigns' facial expressions were just dead on, and I just felt a really nice vibe that, even though I thought this was a pretty mediocre Raw, aside from the Kane stuff and the New Day stuff with Cena, I really liked it.
Well, for once it seemed like there was some heart, some passion, some intensity behind something that was going on. It's like, have you really even believed this feud until now? Until it actually looked like that they were willing to destroy each other? That, like, this is the type of stuff, and I'm not always saying you have to break down the entire arena just to sell a feud, but it's that level of intensity that we rarely see nowadays. That is what really sells a feud, and that's why it's like, I didn't, like, and to not even use like a pun or whatever, I didn't believe in this feud until tonight, basically, or last night, I'm sorry. You know, we need to see more of this level.
Yeah, and I mean, minus the finish, it was a very solid match. Like, you could take that match, throw it on a pay-per-view, and it would, like, fit perfectly. The fact that we got it on a Raw, I think, really helps build the feud, and maybe that's what they need to do more of.
No, and the non-finish worked perfectly. Like, they did everything to the point where Bray Wyatt threw a production guy over to Roman.
We know the feud isn't going to end on this Raw.
I liked the ending, and I was totally okay with it, except for the fact where they were hyping it. It ends tonight. This ends tonight, and then it's a double count out.
Well, tonight's not always the night, Keith, as opposed to what the theme tells you.
But the bright lights.
Everybody goes down. Tonight's the night. No. All right.
No.
So
All right.
talking about this, I want a quick, not a lightning round thing, but just quick comments on the state of both Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt. Starting with Roman, I just want quick feedback on WrestleMania versions of these guys, and then last night Raw progression of these guys. Starting with Keith.
WrestleMania versions, ugh. Now versions, yeah, okay, they're pretty great. They had some bumps, but I think they've earned their place on the card.
Roman Reigns has definitely come a long way since WrestleMania, and even just leading right up to WrestleMania, I think his real progression, I felt at least the real progression at Fastlane with his match with Daniel Bryan, but
yes,
and leading up to that, and then WrestleMania, he was great. So ever since Fastlane, basically, I feel like he's done nothing but improve. Bray Wyatt, basically until last night, I felt like nothing was really different. If we see more of this Bray Wyatt, yeah, sure, he's got Braun Strowman, but what of actual, what from Bray Wyatt had actually changed? I didn't think too much, but we'll see where this goes. But this is definitely a more promising side of Bray Wyatt.
And I guess the deep, dark question is, they're basically going to have a rematch. Who is going to win that rematch? Because then we always get the Bray Wyatt syndrome, which is has a great match, but then loses. And this is a key point where I definitely don't think that Roman Reigns can afford to lose, unlike WrestleMania.
I was actually going to say the opposite. I think Bray Wyatt should probably win. Although, did he get the win in their last singles match? Pretty sure he did.
Because Harper interfered and then he won that match.
Because I was like, oh, maybe Roman can afford the loss, but
no, I think you're maybe crazy about that.
Yeah, they're at their peak point, but this goes back to the question of, is Bray Wyatt's character going to change accordingly? We'll see, but there is another character that in a very short amount of time, I mean, it's essentially been 2 to 3 weeks that we've been with this Kane storyline, and there is just this huge division. I don't know if you guys have had the chance to go to Squared Circle, just other forums about this. People are just absolutely... there was a thread that said that this is the most they've enjoyed Kane's character in like 10 years, but then everybody else is just all like, how dare you? Like, this is you are the reason. Somebody singled out that person. You are the reason with what's wrong with wrestling. I'm like, whoa, it's a little harsh.
Honestly, I get both sides of that argument because I really like this Kane. I said it last week. I think it's great. It's new, it's interesting, and it's kind of funny. It kind of gets all the parts of wrestling and that I like and combines them together. But then I went today and tried to explain this Kane to a coworker, and about halfway through my description, I realized, oh my god, this is the stupidest thing ever. So I get both. I get both sides of the argument,
and I also kind of get the side that we had this conversation maybe a year ago that, or probably even less than that. Look who is at the forefront of Monday Night Raw. We have Kane and the Big Show again in top storylines that are going on. And I can see how people are a little fatigued on that, considering these guys have basically been around.
Changes.
They've been around for like 20 years now. Kane's storyline definitely is more interesting, and at least he's working with a younger guy. It's something we haven't seen this feud really, so I think that's all well and good. And if they're doing the right thing, then I'm fine with it. But I can see how other people are just straight up sick of these guys because of how long they've been around.
I think the ultimate point to what you're saying is look who's main eventing Hell in a Cell.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it's interesting because in many ways, you're doing with Kane what most people want to see out of WWE, which is character progression. Like we have these two elements. This is basically the Abyss and Joseph Park storyline from TNA rehash. I mean, let's be honest here. Not saying that's a bad thing, because I think that storyline dragged on way too long, because that was during a period of time where I did watch a lot of TNA. With this, in a very short amount of time, they're like, okay, this is a thing that's happening. WWE is already aware of it. That's why they got Ashley from HR. So apparently they have a human resources department after all these years. They finally got that. They should have probably gotten that, like when, Shane got his testes electrified by Kane, who's the same guy. So I don't know, man. That's just me. They could afford a couple dollars there. Now, and the agenda, it says Demon Kane is Wolverine. Who wrote that? And I would love to hear that.
Because he just
this one's all you, Bob.
He just healed himself, He just had that fast healing ability. Yeah, but even baby faces will sell when they get their ankle broken.
No,
but Demon Kane, man, he's like Wolverine. He just heals.
Yeah,
it's the demonic powers. Yeah, no, we're rolling over your crappy joke.
There you go.
I now just got that.
I'm proud of it. I'm quite proud of it. Okay, so with Kane, he is main eventing, as Keith stated, Hell in a Cell with Seth Rollins. I wasn't able to be here last week. I think this feud is sort of like they are going into the Katie Vick category. It sounds weird, but like...
Whoa, hold on.
No. Hear me out.
Explain yourself. Explain yourself.
I'm not saying in the terms of like necrophilia and all that, but we talked about this in our Worst Storylines SRT, which is like, this is not a storyline that a champion would usually be involved at. Usually the champion has the more serious personal storyline, but this is... like kind of like a pat on the back, like, hey, get it, Kane, he's like back and doing this, and it feels weird that is your primary focus. Yet with Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns, there's this very personal rivalry that's happening, which happened in Main Event Raw. So it's like they almost switched the positions of these two things, maybe knowing that it's Kane, which for me makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if Kane's in a world title feud, I mean, it was very similar to the Daniel Bryan and Kane feud. This one just went like the extra level with the whole transformations between Kane and Demon Kane.
Now, changing topics a little bit, the Divas revolution. So, of course...
we're skipping over Ashley from HR.
Okay, so you have a crush on her, apparently, from what I can see.
Not just that, but apparently
Really?
People thought that Ashley was the real deal. Like, if you look, people looked on LinkedIn and looked for the director of human resources in WWE, and it actually is a girl named Ashley. But I feel bad because all these news stories came out saying that it was the same one. So the actual Ashley from HR was on Raw, but apparently that's not the case. And now her LinkedIn profile is everywhere. I apologize, Ashley, for the message I sent. Maybe you don't want to still go to dinner, but invitation's still out if you're interested. So, yeah, they got some other actor, but this poor actual Ashley is probably getting her profile.
You figure they could have at least changed the name.
Everyone.
At least do that.
Wasn't that a little
Well, think about if your name was Dr. Shelby and how your career is just over at this point.
Yeah, but it happens to be that like this Ashley actually looks very similar to the one that they put on TV. So it's like they basically they like casted someone who looked like their actual HR director and
maybe
put the same name.
This is just a tribute to the I'm not going to say. But
I just thought that was funny.
They did try to actually do something nice. Like, we got this actress, she's going to be having your name to sort of pay tribute to the fact that we actually have an Ashley in HR. So, we're looking at this in a negative light, but maybe it was, a nice
maybe
thing.
She was all for it, and she thought it was really cool. Like, oh, I'm getting played on TV, and I don't actually have to be on TV.
And then she got hit by Ryan.
To go back to these, got hit by Ryan, I think you mean hit on by Ryan, because that's a whole different can of worms. You cannot, that one of them is an HR violation. One of them is less of an HR violation.
Sorry. Be a star, all right? I be a star.
To go back to the whole Attitude Era thing, sorry, because it's really prominent in my mind. Back then, they would take, like, executives and have them announce things on the show. Guess what? It wasn't very good, so it's probably a good idea for them to hire actors.
Oh, there was also a hell of a kayfabe explanation of why HR is never, like on Squared Circle, Reddit, that we love so much.
Yeah, because they're all like
someone
private
brought
contractors,
up why HR
right?
has never been involved in any other like dispute. And they basically were like, oh, well, WWE superstars are all independent contractors, so that, you know, WWE Incorporated doesn't have to deal with them. However, Kane is a director of operations.
Wow.
So he's a part of, you know, the main company, and therefore, you know, can go to HR. So pretty good explanation.
That is kind of amazing. And I'm sorry, Ryan. You know,
and I'm sure WWE didn't even think of that, but they'll use it again. And what?
You don't hit people. You love them. You're the sex
I know.
stallion.
Try not to, you know, I'm not Ray Rice. All right, chill out.
Exactly. So let's switch topics a little bit here. Talk about the Divas Revolution. Just before we hit the record button, there is a quote from an interview that Paige got at Channel Guide magazine regarding her Paige bomb, quote unquote, promo that happened on Raw. Just the whole reaction that people had regarding the Divas Revolution. And I quote, "I felt like the whole Divas Revolution thing started to get stale," she said. "I thought it definitely needed a kick in the ass a little bit. Vince and our writers were so cool with the promo. They definitely gave me the freedom to say what I wanted. I kept it as tame as possible. I wanted to go a little bit harder, but I thought, nah, I'll save it. It was definitely an adrenaline rush. I wanted to be the bad guy, and I'm happy to be the bad guy. I don't mind being hated, but the crowd was so receptive to it and great. They were cheering the most of it. And I was like, no, that's not the way it's supposed to be. It was great. I was very nervous before doing it. I just wanted to get out there and kick some butt and light fire under the Divas Revolution once again." And this sort of goes back to our argument a couple weeks back where we're like, yeah, we just have this faction war happening. A lot of podcasts are covering, even not Sam Roberts, Cheap Heat. A lot of places are just calling this out because at first it was a really cool concept, but then it just sort of became faction war. What do you guys think about the part where she thought that people were going to boo her, but then that didn't happen?
Well, that's just what happens in wrestling these days. Anybody that does anything heelish or like dirty tactic or says any form of truth gets cheered because it's something that we're all thinking. We even said it on this show. Paige, everything she said is 100% correct. So why wouldn't you cheer something like that?
Yeah, people don't boo the truth, especially if it's something that they already have accepted as truth. I just want to know why this is like the new, you know, did Sheamus steal or borrow the Ferrari? Is the whole who started the Divas Revolution? Why are people still arguing over this? It's still in, like, they still talk about it every week. Who started it? Guess what? It kind of sucks. Why do you want to take ownership of that? You know what I mean? When it's better, maybe you can claim that you started it. But right now, who wants to be responsible for this?
Exactly, and how it's like this big, like, oh my god, they're mixing it up, it's so exciting thing. Like, didn't all of us say, like, hey, they're probably going to break up the factions after Nikki loses the title? Like, it's still on a super predictable track. It's just
Paige
that the track
teamed with them this week. Like,
I know.
What is this?
So
yeah, it's an odd thing because once again, we saw the writing on the wall for most of these situations. And reading this, I know, Keith, you grind a little bit when people say, like, the next pipe bomb, but Paige is the one that actually referred to herself as delivering a Paige bomb because I felt, I feel like that
she used a buzzword for her own thing.
Yeah, exactly. So that probably doesn't do any favors for getting Keith to get back on the Divas Revolution train.
This is like CM Punk's what chant, you know, like Austin had the what chant, now CM Punk like started the thing where every worked shoot promo has to have the word bomb in it now.
Do you guys feel any different? Do you think that there's something that can happen within the Divas Revolution that will make you not just be like, ah, that's pretty cool, but actually keep your attention?
I mean, I think the real highlight was Charlotte basically saying, you know, that, like, we just need to focus on, like, it's us in the ring that need to just, you know, do this. And saying, like, I forget exactly what she said, but, you know, just putting the focus on what happens in the ring and less about all the other BS.
Absolutely.
So basically, there's a reason there's Total Divas, and then there's a reason there is a ring on Raw, and that they should just maybe focus on wrestling in said ring. Is that what you're saying?
You know, yeah. And the way that they've done things, Like, I don't think it was a good idea to have Paige just already teaming with PCB after they were supposed to be split. I mean, like, obviously there was Paige runs away, all that stuff. It's like, what did you expect to happen? I think they needed to have Paige separate herself more just to make it feel different, because it really just felt like it's still the same groups.
Question. I just thought of this, so I hope I can formulate. I can't even say that word. I hope I can say it in a way that you can understand.
Either, so.
Yeah, okay. Do you feel that the reason that maybe the Divas Revolution grew stale quickly is not because what they're doing is bad, but because instead of WWE doing something different with them, they pretty much just raised them up to the level of other storylines we complain about. So in many ways, they are on par with what's happening with the males, but then we were complaining about that to begin with.
Oh, absolutely, because really all they're doing with the Divas Revolution, like at the end of the day with what's going on with the WWE, the big revolution is that they're adding basic wrestling storyline into the Divas division instead of like just match after match. Like, oh, what do you know? Person turns on team and then they feud and then there's a little bit of tension between the teams. That's been done with the males 100,000 times in wrestling. I think the reason why we see it as a I'm not going to say a failure, but let's say more of a disappointment at the moment, is because they're not really focusing on the things where the, quote, real Divas Revolution is, the things that we enjoy in NXT about the Divas division, how they just go out there and have 5-star matches. That's not really happening in the WWE, whether they're not given the platform for it or they're not doing it, period. But that part of the revolution isn't really translating. And I think that's what makes it unfortunate.
I think part of that is kind of they just oversaturated the division right from the get-go. It's like, let's, everyone get in here. We're just going to bring everyone. All the divas are here now. This is a revolution. Instead of like, what if they just quietly had, you just had Charlotte and Becky Lynch just like start having singles matches on Raw. And sure, nobody cares, but what if they start tearing the house down after a couple weeks? Things like that. Instead of just like bringing everyone in saying, this is a revolution. Now let's live up to that name,
I don't think the saturation was the issue in that, though, because they brought all those people up at the same time, but they didn't deliver in the same way that they were delivering in NXT. So it was kind of like, hey, pile on, Raw. And then they never really delivered.
Well, yeah, but like you said, the whole revolution in NXT was just that they would have excellent matches, and in the NXT storylines it was like they cared when they actually developed storylines down there. But it was really just them getting the time to have great matches that WWE fans aren't used to seeing from women.
I'll just leave you guys with this quote before we get to announcements, and this is from something that we'll actually talk about right after. There was an NXT All-Star panel, I should say, where Triple H said, and I quote, regarding the Divas movement in NXT, it's not putting them in the main event, it's that they are the main event. We're talking about that in NXT, but in the main roster, it very much felt like they're not the main event, but we're putting more spotlight in them. So cool, awesome.
I need to go back to that Attitude Era once again, where I think Triple H is right when he says that, because on an episode of Raw, they put Goldust in the main event against Stone Cold Steve Austin. Yeah, Goldust was in that main event, but did it feel like Goldust belonged against Stone Cold Steve Austin? Absolutely not. So I think it's more about like proving that they belong instead of just, hey, you're in the main event now.
Exactly. They didn't really allow the division to prove themselves on Raw like they did on NXT before, like the NXT division of women did not get all that praise and call a revolution from the get-go. That had to slowly be earned. And now they're going to main event a takeover special because they've worked their way to that instead of just bringing them in and calling it a revolution from the get-go.
So it's a sad topic, but
I think we broke some ground here today.
Yeah.
I think so.
Sad reality, folks. But of course, let's get to a couple of announcements. a lot of cool stuff happening over at the YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast. Last week, we posted part 1 of our Superstar Spotlight on the Big Red Monster, Kane, talking about the beginning of his career. We've gotten a lot of great reception, so thanks to everybody that has checked it out. And if not, you definitely have to, because next week we will be posting part 2 of that Spotlight. This week on Fight Night, you're hearing Keith here. You're going to hear Keith in Fight Night. Keith is actually going to address the masked man that has kidnapped somebody. Otherwise, very bad things could happen. Keith, are you? We've been talking about pipe bombs. Are you going to cut one?
Yeah, you know, this week is going to be what you would call a Keith bomb if you're a terrible person.
Oh, well, you're a terrible person, so maybe it works.
Yeah, I know. Join me in the well of sorrow.
Yeah. By the way, yeah, we're going to be having a lot more video game related content, obviously about things related to WWE 2K16, etc. Speaking of which, I want to ask something to everybody listening. What is the first thing you would like us to cover about WWE 2K16 and the channel? Maybe new moves, entrances, matches, the story creator. I mean, the My Career Mode, no story creator in the game. Okay, that was a bad slip up. I'm just so sad.
Oh, my feels, they burn.
And we will be having some WWE Reckoning stuff happen. Of course, make sure to follow us on twitch.tv/ByteThat. We're going to be having some more live streams happening in the near future. And we are approaching 4K subs on YouTube. So we just want to take a quick time and thank you to everybody that has supported us. And now it's time to talk about the money. I talked about it at the top of the show. We're giving away a $60 digital gift certificate towards your copy of WWE 2K16. All you got to do is go over to bytethat.com/WWE 2K16. The contest ends on October 20th, and we will announce the winner right here on the podcast. I mean, all you got to do is go there. You follow us on things. You submit questions that can even turn into videos. Most importantly, because you know it's all cool, but you get to indicate how many times you would super kick Keith in the face. And I did the math. Okay, to everybody that has entered, it will be over 400,000 super kicks a day to Keith. I mean, talk about being a heel.
It's a lot of super kicks. My lord.
Oh, quick thing on that is for people entering, if you are already subscribed to us on YouTube or following us on Twitter, you still get credit for that. You do not, if you click the button, you don't have to unsubscribe from us or resubscribe to do that. As far as I know, you will get credit if you're already subscribed or followed.
And the last little detail, the winner has to be able to receive a gift certificate from GameStop.com, Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, or Amazon.co.uk. So everybody can enter. You just have to make sure that you have to be able to receive the gift certificate from one of those URLs. We have a worldwide audience. It's crazy overwhelming, but we do have limitations as to what we can deliver, so we just want to be straight up about that. Now, quick little tidbit. We have two things that we may be talking about in the future because obviously there is just too much happening. Check out the Divas Table for 3 up on the network right now. It features Ivory, Molly Holly, and Alundra Blaze. It's just great. That came up randomly on the...
really good.
Yeah, it just came out out of nowhere. Did they even advertise that?
I don't think they did. I just kind of went to the network one time and saw that it was there, but definitely worth a watch. Can't recommend it enough.
Did you check it out, Ryan?
I still have to watch that one.
Yeah, it's great. Like, Ivory doesn't give a damn. She just has a great time.
I did listen to someone who reviewed it and said that Molly was more quiet than everyone else and that Ivory was just going off.
Yeah, so about WWE Live from Madison Square Garden, we're not going to be getting to some predictions. I just want to get your feedback on 2 matches that will be happening back-to-back. So Lesnar versus Big Show and Jericho versus Kevin Owens. So I want to take it to Mr. Poshik first.
You know, Lesnar versus the Big Show, I think it's going to be exactly what you think that match is, and Big Show is going to get obliterated by Brock Lesnar. Maybe get a couple of good moves in, but it's just to build up the Lesnar to make him look as powerful as can be to go up against The Undertaker. Now, Jericho versus Kevin Owens, I don't know about you guys, but this feels like a bit of a dream match in the way that
It was one of my dream matches, and it's happening. So
exactly,
yeah.
like
on
this
a house
match.
show.
Yeah, at a house show. My God, but I think this match has all the potential in the world to be one of the best matches of the year, and I am genuinely looking forward to seeing how it plays out.
As far as Big Show Lesnar, I expect it to be about as long as Kofi versus Lesnar. I really think it's going to be that short. And even their match at like Royal Rumble 2 years ago, they're acting like that didn't exist, where Lesnar just destroyed Big Show. So nothing different there. Kevin Owens versus Jericho definitely sounds like it's going to be awesome. Probably match of the night. I'm not sure what else is going to be on the card. I think it's going to be mostly like house showy type matches similar to Beast in the East, I'm expecting. But that should be the show stealer.
Yeah, Lesnar versus
the
Big
Dudleys
Show.
are also on there too, right?
Yeah,
Dudleys in the New Day for the tag
match.
titles. Title change could happen. I feel like they want to make people really be like, oh, anything can happen on these house show specials. So
yeah,
good chance
I think so as
the
well.
titles change.
I'm just hoping they keep the theme with Beast in the East, where the camera style and everything was different from the Raw and the pay-per-views. I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Or even the commentary style.
Yeah, exactly. Just everything was different. So we'll have to see with that. Lesnar versus Big Show. Yeah, I mean, I don't care. And then Kevin Owens versus Chris Jericho. I don't think that match can meet my expectations because Jericho's match with Finn Balor I enjoyed, but it wasn't anything that I was going crazy over or something like that. So, yeah. I'm looking forward to it, though. And yeah, before people ask, like, Finn Balor versus Jericho didn't happen at Beast in the East. What happened was the night before, they actually faced off. And somebody on YouTube actually gathered multiple camera, cell phone footage and turned it into a multicam full-length match.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. And so it was ridiculous. So I just got to see like a 20-minute match the day before. I don't remember if it's still up on YouTube. Probably not, because that's way too much... it's too good of content, I guess. So check it out. Just Finn Balor, Jericho.
And that can exist on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, you know how WWE can be. It only makes sense, right? They probably want to re-release that at some point down the line. But it was a pretty good match. Now, we're talking about some NXT things. I just want to quickly give my thoughts on the NXT All-Star panel. I know you guys haven't had a chance to check it out. But basically, this happened during SummerSlam weekend, so they make references to, SummerSlam's about to happen. But Sasha Banks was there, Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, Seth Rollins, Byron Saxton, Triple H, and Corey Graves. And they talk about Dusty. Obviously, Dusty recently passed away, and that, so a lot of people were very emotional. I do like this type of content. It's similar, I guess, to the Legends with JBL. Byron Saxton was like the interviewer, but because he was in FCW, every once in a while he would just talk about little things such as when they were in FCW, they weren't allowed to go into the bathroom or even eat inside the building. Kevin Owens talks about the interest of, he wanted to go to NXT before Raw, and Neville, they expressed that when he was being called up, it was like bittersweet for him. Like, I like NXT. I want to sort of stay down here. So I want you guys to check it out, even if we don't end up reviewing it or something. It's about 45 minutes long. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
So much discussion stuff happening on the network, right? Just behind the scenes. Crazy.
But that's the best content on the network. Like, if they just saturate us with this, I will be the happiest little $9.99 spender in the planet.
Although one quick little thing, and definitely something we could talk about later, is, or even like an SRT, is like this Paige thing as an example. Do we get the behind the scenes stuff a little too quickly now? Like, that Paige promo just happened, and we're already getting the behind the scenes on it. So
good
something
call.
to think about.
Good call.
The world moves faster than ever.
And just a little quick tidbit I want to bring up here also. When Sasha won the women's title on NXT, Triple H said here that when she won the title, he wanted her to be off character, like the reaction. But on TV, she was still the boss. So she was still like, yeah, I deserve to win. And he was actually kind of upset about that. So it's kind of interesting how Triple H encouraged somebody to go off character on TV and then sort of go back on. Just once again, why I love this type of content, and you guys got to check it out. Now, something the three of us actually did get a chance to watch. This came out last week in a 2-part series. Legends with JBL is a brand new interview series. The first episodes are with Eric Bischoff. So I was super looking forward to this. I actually want to take it first to Keith because you watch so much more of the Attitude Era. Obviously, we've gotten so much coverage about WCW, but I think this was definitely different than that infamous 2003 interview with Bischoff they used for like 10 years.
Yeah, no kidding.
What you guys think of it overall, Keith, Ryan, and then I'll end it.
You're right where we've gotten, like, the WCW thing has been beaten to death, but Eric Bischoff's point of view about the whole WCW thing isn't really something that gets talked about a lot. And I'm one of the people that, like, I put Eric Bischoff or listening to Eric Bischoff talk up there with listening to Paul Heyman talk. Like, I love listening to Eric Bischoff and his point of view and the way that he talks about things. And I thought that this interview was great for that. Like, hearing his, like, certain, his take on things, like the moment he realized, like, oh no, we're in trouble, WCW's in trouble, or his take on the whole, the night Vince Russo kind of went into business for himself, and just a bunch of stuff like that. It was a really good interview filled with content, and JBL is a really great interviewer. I think that's awesome.
Amazing interviewer, yeah.
But yeah, no, it's definitely worth a check out.
JBL was really like on top of his game and, you know, well researched, asking all the right questions and kind of pushing him on certain questions, you know, about like, you know, pressure from executives and kind of misconceptions about things that, you know, decisions that Eric Bischoff made, like making it seem like Eric Bischoff was like had a vendetta against Vince when he really didn't. It was just to compete against him, or that like Ted Turner was really out to get Vince, whereas you know, Bischoff said at least from his perspective that wasn't exactly the case. So they it was really cool to see some of those things, you know, those things that are typically believed, to hear Eric Bischoff's point of view on them.
I'll be honest, I prefer this format over the Stone Cold podcast, and I'll give my opinion why. You know, people always talk about they want the juicy stuff, you know, like the behind the scenes, like, you know, shoot on somebody. This showed the difference of when somebody prepares for a different type of controversial interview, because a lot of times you saw Eric Bischoff having to sort of, you know, take a second, mentally prepare himself for his answer because it was a controversial thing, like when JBL brought up Russo. But the way the conversation was carried, it's like, yeah, there were some negative things that were discussed, because obviously that was part of the process at WCW's end. But the information was something that gave you clarity instead of, I spoke negative about that guy. It gave you a much better perspective. Like, for myself, as somebody that, you know, consumed WCW way more than WWF, I've watched the Monday Night War, I've watched all of this, but this gave me a lot of insight on, you know, I'll be honest, that for everything that was bad with WCW, I also can't trust on everything Bischoff said. Because I do think there were a lot of elements like, okay, now, you got to be accountable for something. Because it's always like, oh, this happened with this, you know, this guy, and then Turner, and then the executives. But, you know, it was a whole company. And it's a shame that, much like ECW, the company could have easily survived if just 2 or 3 key things happened, but sadly they didn't.
I mean, as fans, we're never going to know the full truth, but there's, especially with stuff like WCW and ECW, where there's so many stories and different accounts of what happened that we can kind of parse through and kind of come to our own conclusion about what we think is right or not. And that's what I kind of like about stuff like this. It adds to that pot.
And if anything, it always reiterates that almost the behind-the-scenes storylines are almost more interesting than what we see on TV.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because I can easily get a 10-hour interview. Like, I want to see this with Paul Heyman. I want to see, if that's not a future episode, I'm going to be super disappointed because, yeah, we've gotten the Paul Heyman documentary, we've gotten Heyman on Stone Cold, but JBL was honestly on another level. For all the hate that we get at JBL on Raw, this is just something completely different.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a produced JBL, because even when JBL first joined the commentary team, I thought he was excellent. But this also has a format that is, I think, is more advantageous for this type of information that we want than the Stone Cold podcast, because they get double the time. And it just seems like it's in the format where you're just talking about entire career, whereas the Stone Cold podcast can be a little less formal, you know?
And it's produced, right? So they have that opportunity to be more formal. They can make cuts and talk in between, where with Stone Cold, you get a lot more of the banter. I don't think what you said was controversial at all, Juan. I think this is much better than the Stone Cold podcast. The Stone Cold podcast is still great, don't get me wrong. Just that this is a little better.
This format is better for the type of information I think we all want.
Exactly. We get the video footage, and just the last quick little tidbit. You know, when you say produced, this absolutely is produced to the point where they did rearrange some things. I'm listening, I edit a lot, short films, etc. So I have a monitor quality headphones. And then I noticed very clearly that a lot of times they would cut to Bischoff and they would use a clip that you could tell was re-recorded afterwards with JBL. So I guess their point is not so much to hide information, but they definitely wanted to make sure it's streamlined. So those that watch it just get it straight up. And then that combined with like the footage, I think it's just such a great combination. If you have not seen this, please do yourself a favor, check it out and drop your review or feedback on Legends with JBL in the comments. And also, who would you like to see next? Once again, for me, Paul Heyman. Now, we've talked about a lot of people talking about things. So, Keith, let's get to people asking us things that we can then talk about.
Yes, let us get to the questions portion of the show. And you remember how last week I mentioned that I was thinking of a nice, smooth way to go about this whole, where you can find us thing?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I never got that far. So let's just go brunt force.
I was like,
right,
don't get my
this.
hopes up, man.
Yeah. So Twitter, Byte That Cast. Facebook, Byte That Cast. Email, bytethatcast@gmail.com. Wrestling Amino, Byte That Cast. YouTube.
Oh, no, it's just Byte That on Wrestling Amino.
Oh, it's just Byte That on Wrestling Amino? Okay, well, then it's just Byte That at Wrestling Amino. YouTube, Byte That Cast. Everything else that I probably didn't mention. Hey, guess what? We're probably Byte That Cast or Byte That or some form of that there, too. So, on to our first question from the true Prince of Pro, and he asks, I thought I'd avoid a Johnny Curtis question this week. You do the Lord's work, sir.
No.
But I still came up with a very interesting one. I thought that today we would do some trio comparisons. There have been many great three-man groups in the world of wrestling, and I thought since you guys are the best three-man group of podcasting, well, thank you very much, sir. We love you too. We do a little comparison between the two. So for each group, you must compare each other to the members of the group. He could go with trios like the NWO, the Shield, the New Day, the ones that have been beaten to death. But
and the ones that we are definitely not as good as.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to figure out the who's who of these groups. Are you ready?
Oh, yep. Man, I'm curious.
Okay.
But okay, are we signaling like I get to pick who I am, or should we be like Keith says who Ryan is?
We can't pick.
No, we pick each other. So me and Ryan decide who you are, Juan, and then you and Ryan decide
All right,
who I am.
so the first one is 3 count, and Juan is definitely Shannon Moore.
Way to take my thunder there.
Yeah.
But yes, the first one is 3 count, and Juan is Shannon Moore.
Am I the irrelevant guy?
Yeah, you're Evan Courageous. 3 count ended and nobody remembers who you are. 3 count, for those that don't know, is an amazing WCW stable.
Hold on. Quote, amazing, end quote, stable.
If I'm Shannon Moore, I think Keith is Sugar Sheen Helms.
And I'm the irrelevant guy that nobody cares about.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
Feels bad, man.
On to the next one.
This is so mean.
Too Cool, Scotty Too Hottie, Rikishi, and Grandmaster Sexay.
Okay, I gotta start with this one. I mean, Keith, Ryan is our sex stallion.
Oh, I agree. I think Ryan is absolutely our Grandmaster Sexay.
Okay, just making sure. All right.
Okay. I know I'm not allowed to pick for myself, but I think Juan is our Rikishi.
What? Yeah. How does that happen?
Because I'm totally the Scotty Too Hottie.
Yeah, you're
That's
Rikishi
true.
One.
I'm just by default Rikishi.
Hey, you're the leader, right?
Well, I get to run over Stone Cold, so I guess that's kind of cool.
Yes. And stink faces and all that stuff. On to the next group, which is probably one of the best groups in history if you live in opposite land, and that is X Factor.
Everybody loses here.
X-Pac, Justin Credible, and Albert.
Can I just be the guy that sings the theme song?
You want to be Uncle Cracker?
I'd rather be Uncle Cracker.
Oh, okay. All right, so you're Uncle Cracker. I'm going to say Ryan's just incredible, because he is just incredible.
Oh, thank you. I think you're X-Pac.
Oh, man.
So I guess I got to shave my back? I don't have back hair, though.
Yeah, probably.
I don't believe that. Anyway, moving on to the next team.
Yeah, that's about as much time as anyone should spend on X Factor.
Yes.
And the next team is Team Bella. Nikki Bella, Brie Bella, Alicia Fox.
Well, Keith is the crazy one of the group, so I vote he's Alicia Fox.
I'm going to say Juan is Brie, because you'd probably see him at ringside going, "Come on, Ryan! Come on, Ryan!" all the time.
So, wow, I am Nikki Bella.
You are Nikki Bella. I
guess I should get them implants, huh?
Ryan, you've been sleeping with Cena? What?
And our final group. This has gone so far off the rails that I might call it in as a train wreck. The final group is the Mean Street Posse. Remember them? The team of Pete Gas. You know, my whole child life, I thought that was Pete Ass, but I am very wrong.
Not
Pete Gas, Rodney, and Joey Abs.
Keith, you're Rodney. Rodney.
Oh, Rodney. Yes, I am Rodney.
One, you could be Joey Abs because you're probably in better shape than me.
Yeah, that's
Why
probably
not?
true. All
And
right,
I'll be Gas because I eat like shit.
All right. Well, there we go. Now we know who we are in our former lives.
We agree
next
way
lives.
too much in this.
Yeah.
It's almost like
Especially
we've known
when
each
it comes
other.
to especially when it comes to Juan being Rikishi. Very easy
Way
to
too
agree
much.
on.
That worries me a little bit. I'll let it go.
Indeed. But True Prince of Pro asks one more question, and he asks, as Up Up Down Down, by the way, amazing YouTube channel, you should check it out if you haven't, heads into the second round of its Madden 16 tournament, I wanted to get your predictions on who you all believe will win. So he uses their gimmick names. I don't know exactly who all of them are, but because I've only seen a couple episodes, I know you guys haven't really watched the Madden tournament.
Negative.
Right?
This is something I definitely want to watch because I'm the only one who actually likes football here. So I will check it out, but I can't answer anything right now.
Mm-hmm. But as far as who I want to win, I am going to say that Big Deal needs to win, and Big Deal is The Miz. Because if you want to watch an episode of that tournament, go watch The Miz's episode, because holy crap is it good. Seth Rollins makes a cameo in it. It's a hell of an episode, and I highly recommend, if there's a starting point for that, go watch that episode. And yeah, Big Deal's going to win, because he's The Miz and he's awesome, blah, 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 blah. Our next question comes from Mr. Barney Johnson. Barna Balls. He's got Barna Balls of Steel. And he asks, what do you guys think is the most rewatchable pay-per-view of all time? One of his favorites would be Payback 2014. Now, that's a really good answer, but what do you guys think?
See, I'm trying to avoid this answer, but it's the one that I've watched the most, and that is WrestleMania 17. On the same card, you have Edge and Christian, Dudleys, Hardys. You have Taker, Triple H, Stone Cold, The Rock, Kurt Angle, Benoit, Eddie, Kane. WrestleMania almost ended. Jericho. You have X Factor. X Factor's in that card. I mean, you're dealing with it. And
they're on the Sunday Night Heat.
Yeah,
but it's still
it counts.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much have to agree with Juan. I don't think there's any other show that tops that.
Except for my pick, which is the 2000 Royal Rumble. I think that is the most rewatchable pay-per-view of all time. It features, in my opinion, one of the best Royal Rumbles ever. Cactus Jack versus Triple H in the street fight. You got that tables match between the Hardy and Dudleys. Taz's debut where he chokes out Kurt Angle. It's a really, really solid card, and it's one of my favorites of all time. But thank you for your question, Mr. Balls of Steel. Our next one comes in from Cody Collier, who asks, what do you think is the most underrated and overrated Hell in a Cell match, and why? I said that weird. Hell in a Cell match, and why?
Let's see. Overrated. This is probably gonna be a common answer, but The Undertaker, Mankind, Hell in a Cell.
Yep, I agree.
Because it was barely a match. There was just a bunch of key spots that are, granted, unforgettable. Unforgettable spots. But other than that, it was like not even really a match. Underrated, I would say Triple H versus Chris Jericho. I think doesn't really get a lot of attention. And I thought that was a good match.
For me, I think that maybe it's not underrated. And yeah, I agree with your overrated pick. I just think the Taker versus Shawn, Hell in a Cell of Bad Blood, it got overshadowed by the Mankind one, to the point where whenever they use footage, they use like Shawn being thrown to the cell, but then they obviously got to talk about the other one. And this is the match that really showed
nobody remembers that Shawn Michaels went off the cell.
Exactly.
Like, it wasn't fully off the cell, but it was like 3/4 the way up through a table.
Exactly.
I still don't think, as far as like straight up Hell in a Cell matches, that any match has ever topped that one.
Yeah, because this is the match where you go like, this is the potential that this has. When I think of a Hell in a Cell match, this is the standard that people should follow. And realistically, there was no standard to follow in Mankind Taker. It's just like, that guy got thrown off. Amazing spot. Was it worth it? Yeah, we still talk about it, but let's face facts. As a match, no.
Looking at Mick Foley these days, I don't know if it was worth it.
Hey, he wanted to do it.
I have to agree with you guys in saying that Undertaker Mankind is very overrated. Was it an incredible sequence of spots? Absolutely. Will it ever be done again? God, I hope not. But at its time, it was great, but it wasn't a very good match, and I think it gets overrated all the time for that. As far as underrated, I think that the Triple H versus Cactus Jack Hell in a Cell match in 2001? 2001?
I think
2000. It was in 2000. Yes, it was in 2000 that they had is very underrated, because it had a lot of, like, minus being thrown off the cell into a table, it had the same spot that the Cactus Jack or the Mankind Undertaker match had, where Mick Foley went through the cell, and they had a solid wrestling match around that.
That is maybe a match that nowadays has kind of gotten lost in time. It definitely wasn't underrated at the years following it.
But history has definitely forgotten it.
Exactly.
Good call, yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you for the question, Cody. That was a really good one. But our next one comes in from Nick Duppen1, Duppen, and he asks, how do you feel on the rumors of Jeff Hardy coming back? And if he comes back, would you make him a main eventer or a mid-carder?
Jeff Hardy, I think he's a guy who's pretty much done everything that he needed to do in WWE. I think I said this before. I don't think he needs to come back. If he did, I think he would probably be somewhere in that upper main event area, feuding with, the Randy Ortons of the world. But I don't think he needs to come back.
Sam Roberts mentioned something about this, where Kurt Angle would have a short-term one-off thing, and Jeff Hardy would probably have a lengthy last shot kind of a run happening. I honestly think that if he comes back, he should feud with Seth Rollins and lose and leave. It should be like, you want to prove yourself. You try to go against Brock Lesnar. People say you're the future. Here's the past coming at you. They started with Kane, and they can definitely go with that. It's almost like a different type of legend killer type of storyline, and I would actually like to see that.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I don't want to see Jeff Hardy come back. I've kind of said it in the past, but I think he's gotten his shot, and he hasn't really delivered in the past in that respect for getting it. So if he did come back, I would see him in an RVD-like role where he comes back, kind of passes the torch, and then goes away. To Seth Rollins, that would be a great person to pass the torch to, but I don't see anything significant coming out of that run. Our next question comes in from BPOE131 on Wrestling Amino, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. He asks, what would you guys think of the Shield reuniting and taking on the newly formed Wyatt family?
I think it's way too soon. That is something you got to put in your back pocket to make some money a couple of years down the line. They're already milking the Shield thing enough with Ambrose and Reigns being together, so they really have to save that Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns full-on Shield reunion for way more down the line.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way something like this would happen. Hypothetically, would I care about it? Maybe. I'm not going to say yes. That being said, the day that they do successfully do a Shield reunion will be awesome, but it has to be minimum 5 years down the line. If they do it
I was
anytime
about
before
to say
that,
the exact same thing.
You have to make people want it.
Exactly. And as wrestling fans, we're conditioned to want things now. And then we're not very patient, right? So we're like, the Shield has been broken up for a little over a year, and we're talking about a Shield reunion. That's nuts to me, as far as I'm concerned.
It's like when Cody Rhodes and Damien Sandow broke up, but they had like the reunion tour 2 weeks later.
Yeah. So
Poor
yeah,
Damien
I don't think we should see a Shield reunion.
I feel bad
in the
now.
next 5 years. You know, I don't anymore. You should really listen to that or watch that episode of Up, Up, Down, Down. He makes some interesting comments about the whole Mizdow thing that makes me feel like he's totally okay with the way it ended.
Really?
It's very enlightening. I'm gonna just tease it.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Tickle the tease button right there and let you go watch
Just don't go below that.
No, it's only good times below the tease button, if you know what I mean. Next question comes in.
We're gonna have to get the Byte That HR rep in here.
That's the dark truth.
Is that chicken shot?
I am the HR rep.
Our next
question
save us, Ashley.
comes in from NKBE1324. He asks, does anybody actually care about Kane going for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship?
Ryan, as somebody that wanted to see Sting become champion, what do you think of this?
That's a good
He says,
good point.
does anyone actually care about Kane going for the World Heavyweight Championship? To directly answer his question, I'm going to say at the very least, Kane cares. So there's your answer.
You're like some politician, man.
But I don't know. It's a B pay-per-view. You throw Kane in there with a cool, interesting storyline. I'm okay with it. Sure, he's not going to win, but how many WWE title feuds do you see where it's plainly obvious that the champion's going to retain? So there you go.
It's almost like a formula, like, hey, there's going to be a main event that doesn't feature the champion. Send in Kane to fight the champion. Happened with Benoit back in the day, happened with Bryan. So Kane's got his place.
And at the end of the day, there's the audience of children that probably think there's a good chance Kane will win. Because I definitely think that's the demographic for this. And they will be surprised when they see Rollins win. So I think that's where they're going for.
Interesting tidbit, too, is apparently Seth Rollins is now the longest reigning world champion through a Money in the Bank cash-in.
Interesting.
Fun fact. There's one for you, Cody.
Yeah, I was going to say that, actually. Yeah.
Our next question, that's what we're doing right now, comes in from Jack A, and he asks, if anyone from the current roster should go into the Hall of Fame now, who would it be and why?
John Cena and Brock Lesnar are my two answers. Those are the guys who are like surefire Hall of Famers on the current roster.
Does The Undertaker count? Because that should be the only answer.
If he is a current roster member, then a yes. Undertaker would be first, but I almost don't even look at him like a current roster member.
Yeah, I'm going to say those are the obvious answers. Somebody that's in the current roster now that will go, and maybe it's not so obvious, is The Miz. Because The Miz has a great story. Yeah, I mean, even Keith's face says a lot right now. Where it's
I thought about, whoa, like, what are you talking about? But then I realized if Coco Beware can be in the Hall of Fame, so can The Miz.
Yep, it only makes sense. Like, The Miz was destined to fill the beginning for getting his script, being the host of Friday Night SmackDown. But look what he pulled off with John Cena. You know, the guy's been a movie star in WWE, and he is the go-to guy for media and a bunch of stuff. And people overlook him. I think it sucks that he won't get another main event shot, although at the same time, he's doing great at what he's doing right now. Not everybody has to be world champion to be in the Hall of Fame. We've seen that. I mean, Jake the Snake.
And Coco Beware's in it.
Like a bunch of guys never were that guy.
At the rate they're pulling people out of the Hall of Fame, Coco Beware is going to be the only one left.
Oh, man. So true.
Truly the darkest timeline. But thank you for the question. And our final set of questions comes in from Commander Creative. He says, hey guys, have 2 questions for you. Oh, and he says his name is Michael. So, hey, Michael, how's it going? But question number 1, do you think they should split the main titles again? And my answer is simply no.
Nope.
No, I like one championship to rule them all.
Exactly. They have a hard enough time.
My precious.
They have a hard enough time making the championships they have right now relevant. Why would you add another one to the mix?
If anything, remove the IC or US title.
Agreed. I completely agree with you on that one. I know some of your opinions are radical, like, hey, living on another planet, but you're actually right about that one. So
what?
Feels special. And his second question is, who do you think's in line to be the next WWE World Heavyweight Champion?
Roman
Reigns, the guy who gets all the... I think Roman Reigns is going to be the next champion.
Bold prediction. Dean Ambrose will win it before Roman Reigns.
Not in this lifetime.
Bam.
Wait,
are you serious
listening
about that?
to... Did Juan just say that? Or did
no, that
Ryan
was Ryan.
just say that?
I did. This is my Kevin Owens transforming into Bray Wyatt.
Oh, come on now.
You're never letting that down or living that down. I just want you to know.
Apparently not. Really, I want to have this conversation when whoever becomes champion. We should have like a bet or something between Ryan and myself. Who wins first, Reigns or Ambrose? We'll talk about that later.
No, we're talking about it right now. Okay, this is what's happening.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so whoever wins the title first, the person who loses has to cut a famous promo in wrestling history that the fans decide. So if Roman Reigns becomes champion, Ryan has to cut said promo. Eh?
All right.
Okay, so people...
Virtual shake on that?
Yeah, virtual shake.
So people keep a note on that. Apparently it's a thing.
Yeah, set it into a microphone. It's real now.
It's still real to me, damn it.
Yes, much like our gratitude for all of your questions. So thank you for sending them in. And I think that's going to do it this week, isn't it, guys?
I think so. We talked about wrestling.
I think it is. So we want to thank everyone for listening to another edition of the Byte Podcast. Do not forget the WWE 2K16 gift card giveaway. That is a $60 value. You can sign up to enter over at bytethat.com/WWE 2K16.
That's a website.
And of course, the other amazing Byte That things. We've got bytethat.com. Wait, not that one. YouTube.com/ByteThatCast.
But hey, if you want to go to ByteThat.com, we ain't gonna stop ya.
Yes, go to ByteThat.com. All our YouTube content is there as well. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. This week, another episode of Fight Night. Keith, our general manager, is going to be on Fight Night. You can't miss that. He is addressing the Masked Man, not the one from Grantland, our own Masked Man. Maybe it's the same guy. Who knows? You'll have to watch to find out. Anyway, you can catch us on social media, Twitter, Byte That Cast, Facebook, Byte That Cast, Wrestling M&O, Byte That, and
thank you.
There's some other things in there too that I can't think of. For everything else, you can go to bytethat.com. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next week.